Hi everyone, welcome to the Commonsense Science Association, Bengaluru, India. Friends, if you also believe that the moon rotates once in every 27 and odd days, then here is a golden chance to win rupees 7 lakhs, $10,000 approximately. To know how, please watch this video till the end. The following quote by Richard Feynman highlights the importance of practical experiments in validating scientific theories. Quote, "It doesn't matter how beautiful your theory is. It doesn't matter how smart you are. If theory doesn't agree with experiment, it is wrong." This is a practical experimental kit to find out if the moon truly rotates once in the anti-clockwise direction in the exact time it takes to complete one full orbit around the Earth. In this experiment, this is achieved by using two identical 10 RPM micro-geared motors. This kit consists of two sub-assemblies, which we will see now. In the first sub-assembly, one of the two motors with an extended shaft is mounted in the center of this plate. This motor, which provides orbital motion to the moon, can be rotated only in the anti-clockwise direction. This is a battery holder with a 12-volt battery. This is a push-button on-off switch. This is a paper cutting of the Earth with a reference arrow stuck on it. The bottom of this is glued to an aluminum bush which sits on top of this extended shaft. This sub-assembly functions in the following manner. The second sub-assembly consists of this bush which slides over the extended shaft of the first motor and is connected to this rod which represents gravity. Just as Earth's gravity keeps the moon in position, this rod also keeps the artificial moon in position. The other end of the rod is attached to an L-shaped plate onto which the second motor is fixed. This motor, which provides rotational motion to the moon, can be rotated both in the clockwise as well as in the anti-clockwise direction. This is a forward-reverse switch. This is an on-off switch, and this is a battery holder with a 12-volt battery. This is a paper cutting of the moon with a reference arrow stuck on it. This is also glued to an aluminum bush which sits on top of this motor shaft. This sub-assembly functions in the following manner. Now, let us assemble the two sections and begin our experiments. In the first experiment, we can observe the moon rotating in the anti-clockwise direction when at rest. Even after it begins to orbit the Earth, its rotation is clearly visible to all of us. This is because its rotational direction is diametrically opposite to its orbital direction. Let us repeat the experiment by manually rotating the moon in the anti-clockwise direction. Now, the moon has rotated and orbited by 180 degrees approximately. Now the moon has rotated and orbited by 270 degrees approximately. Now the moon has simultaneously completed one full rotation in the anti-clockwise direction and also one full orbit in the anti-clockwise direction. In this instance, the entire surface of the moon will be visible from both the Earth and also from outside the moon's orbital path. Please note that videos of similar practical experiments illustrating the moon's rotation cannot be found anywhere on the internet, including the websites of the various astronomical societies as well as space agencies. Only animations and written material can be found on this important subject. Really strange, isn't it? In the second experiment, the moon motor remains switched off, and we can observe that the reference arrow on the moon is always pointing towards the Earth's center, both when it is at rest and also when it's orbiting the Earth, which means that it is not rotating. In this instance, only one side of the moon will be visible from the Earth, whereas all its sides will be visible from outside the moon's orbital path. Please note that as per current theory, the moon in this case is rotating once in the anti-clockwise direction, which is contrary to what we have just observed. Now, let us try to find the reason behind this misconception by taking out the moon and moving it in this manner. Yes, now the moon appears to be rotating. However, this type of illustration is absolutely wrong because the moment we have separated the moon from the motor, it has lost its normal orbital motion. Now, let us see what normal orbital motion is. This is normal orbital motion. Here, the exact same motion is naturally achieved without the moon rotating by even a single degree. Now, let us observe the motion of both the Earth and the moon. Everyone will agree that the Earth has definitely rotated once on its center of axis. So, how can this also be one rotation? It is one orbit. It should never be considered as one rotation. In the third experiment, we can observe the moon rotating in the clockwise direction when at rest. However, as soon as it begins to orbit the Earth, it suddenly appears to stop rotating and the arrow is always pointing downwards. The moment it stops orbiting the Earth, it suddenly appears to start rotating again. This illusion occurs because the inclination caused by the moon's advancement in its orbital path is offset by the same amount of simultaneous inclination in the same direction caused by the moon's clockwise rotation, which we can observe now. Now it has rotated and orbited by 180 degrees. Now it has rotated and orbited by 270 degrees. Now it has simultaneously completed one full rotation in the clockwise direction and also one full orbit in the anti-clockwise direction. In this instance, the entire surface of the moon will be visible from the Earth, whereas only one side will be visible from outside the moon's orbital path. Please note that as per current theory, this is a non-rotating moon, which is again contrary to what we have just observed. Now, let us try to find out the reason behind this misconception by taking out the moon and moving it in this manner. Although it appears that it is not rotating, the moment it is placed back on the motor and moved around the Earth, its rotation in the clockwise direction clearly becomes visible. That is why all sides of the moon will be visible from the Earth in this case. It is also possible to mathematically prove that the moon orbits the Earth without rotating by using the following calculations. We know that one orbit is equal to 360 degrees. If we assume that the moon is making 1.5 rotations per orbit, then 360 divided by 1.5 is equal to 240 degrees, which means that the moon should complete one full rotation by the time it reaches 240 degrees in its orbital path and the remaining 0.5 rotation at the end of the orbit. If we assume that the moon is making 1.001 rotations per orbit, then 360 divided by 1.001 is equal to 359.64 degrees, which means that the moon should complete one full rotation by the time it reaches 359.64 degrees in its orbital path and the remaining 1,000th of a rotation at the end of the orbit. If the moon is making 0.999 rotation per orbit, then 360 by 0.999 is equal to 360.36 degrees, which means that the moon will now complete one full rotation after it has completed one full orbit and then advanced by 0.36 degrees in its second orbit. In both these instances, the entire moon surface will be visible from the Earth. Since this is the only way that the mathematical results can be interpreted and experiments conducted accordingly, it is not only logical but also absolutely imperative that when the moon makes one exact rotation per orbit, its rotation has to be shown in this manner only. Otherwise, we will be contradicting mathematics. What is good for the goose must also be good for the gander. Since the entire moon surface will be visible when it makes 1.001 and 0.999 rotations per orbit, rationally speaking, it should be visible when it makes one exact rotation per orbit also. It is also now clear that as long as the moon is rotating, even if it is by just 1/100th of a rotation per orbit, its entire surface will still be visible from the Earth in the course of it completing 100 orbits around the Earth. Now, let us conduct an experiment to find out how day and night occur on the Earth. Let us assume that this is the Sun and this is the Earth. Let us also assume that the Earth is orbiting the Sun with one side always facing it, similar to how the Moon orbits the Earth. However, unlike the case of the Moon, the side facing the Sun will be perpetually lit up, whereas the other side will be in eternal darkness, which means that the Earth is not rotating. This is one more proof that when bodies orbit in this manner, they are not rotating. As soon as the Earth starts rotating, it will begin to experience day and night, as can be observed here. Now, let us conduct this last experiment to find out how day and night occurs on the moon. Let us replace this paper moon with this plastic ball, which now represents a three-dimensional moon and is marked as A, B, C, and D at intervals of 90 degrees. Since this is also glued to an aluminium bush, let us place this over the motor shaft so that side A is pointing in this direction. Please note that the moon motor is switched off. Let us switch on a light which emulates the sun. As the moon gradually orbits the Earth, side B will slowly become visible. Then side C, then side D, and at the end of the orbit again side A. Let us repeat this a few times. We can notice that the moon is not rotating. We can see that both arrows are always facing one another. We have now observed how day and night occurs on the moon, even though the moon itself does not rotate by even a single degree. From these experiments, it is clear that day and night occur in two different manners. Day and night on all the planets in the solar system occur because all the planets are rotating on their center of axis and the Sun is in the center of all their orbital paths. When day and nights occur in this manner, the number of rotations per orbit will vary from planet to planet. For example, Venus completes one full rotation in 243 Earth days, Earth in 24 hours, and Jupiter in just under 10 Earth hours. In this figure, we can observe the Moon's orbital path around the Earth. We can also observe that the Sun is outside the orbital path because of which the entire surface of the moon will be exposed to sunlight in the course of it completing one full orbit around the Earth, which results in day and night on the moon. When day and nights occur in this manner, the duration of one full day and night will always be equal to the orbital period of that body, as is the case with our moon. All these experiments prove beyond any doubt that the real moon also orbits the Earth without rotating by even a single degree. The results of these experiments also perfectly validate the article on the non-rotating moon contained in the book, The 7 Deadly Misconceptions, written by V Mohanlal, and also the animation on the same subject presented in this YouTube channel, CSAitruth.com. However, we are sure that in spite of all this overwhelming evidence, most of you will still find it hard to believe in a non-rotating moon. This is because the notion that the moon rotates once is deeply embedded in your minds from generations. Hence, you might not only doubt the veracity of these experiments, but also whether all the results just observed are relevant in case of the real Earth and Moon system. Here, we would like to recall one of the greatest discoveries made by modern science, which is that the laws of physics that apply here on Earth apply to the entire universe. By applying this profound statement of truth to this experiment, it instantly becomes obvious that the same laws of physics that apply to the real Earth and Moon system also apply to this experiment and vice versa. Just because this experiment is on a micro scale does not mean that it is governed by a different set of physical laws. Friends, the following announcement is not a challenge but a quest for truth. We repeat, it is not a challenge but a quest for truth. CSA hereby announces a cash prize of ₹7 lakhs to the first person who can prove in a rational and scientific manner that all the experiments illustrated in this video, along with the conclusions drawn, are false. Additionally, to qualify for the award, the person must also construct a practical experimental kit with the help of which he or she must conclusively prove that the moon truly rotates once in the anti-clockwise direction for every orbit it completes around the Earth. Please note that animations, thought experiments, and any other type of experiments that do not involve the use of electric motors will not be considered for the award because these will be based on personal opinions, whereas it is a well-established fact that, at least in most cases, only practical experiments can truly validate scientific theories. This is because only they give the same answer or result irrespective of who is conducting the experiment, irrespective of where the experiment is conducted, and irrespective of the number of times the experiment is conducted. Hence, there is absolutely no room for any sort of ambiguity as far as practical experiments of this type are concerned. CSA requests all our viewers to construct your own experimental kits and take a shot at winning this award. However, if after thorough experimentation and deep introspection, the truth slowly dawns on you, which is that the moon orbits the Earth without rotating by even a single degree, then please join this movement to expose this grave and monumental misconception so that it can be corrected and future generations can be educated with facts and not misconceptions. This moon misconception is a perfect example of what is alluded in the following quote by Albert Einstein: "Unthinking respect for authority is the greatest enemy of truth." You can also watch 2 animated videos on the subject of gravity and the physical properties of outer space presented in our YouTube channel, CSAitruth.com. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and press the notification button.